painting. So at the end of June, I've got an exhibition in Glastonbury, and it's in a little room that's to the side of the Glastonbury galleries. It's a little pop-up exhibition. It's just me, just my own artwork, and I'll be there at the end of June across the weekend. So if anyone is in June, I think it's the 26th, 7th, 8th and 9th of June, and it's just an opportunity for me to show my between what did I call it? Between Root and Realm. That's it. That's the name of the exhibition. Between Root and Realm. Um, and it's a collection of my coven collection, which is all my witches, my fairy realm collection, which is all my little hanging fairies, and then the paintings that are going to all become my Spirit Messenger Oracle deck that I'm launching this year. And the painting I'm working on today is one of those paintings, and it's the hare. So I'm working on a big canvas for this one. So I just felt like it really. And I'm using a limited palette. So I'm using Griffin Alkyd for this painting. Now I normally work in mixed media. So I do a big background of acrylic because it dries quickly. Then where I want nicely blended things, I use oil. And then I sometimes use metallic acrylics to give little highlights. And this piece has got acrylic and oil and also gold leaf in the painting. And I'm using a limited colour palette because that adds cohesion across the painting. So I'm using my famous whites. I'm using yellow ochre. I'll be using Prussian blue as well. I'm using burnt umber. Need to buy a bit more of that one. And a tiny amount of black. Some people don't agree with using black, but when I want a really dark, even dark tone, that's when I use my black, so I don't get too much of a mixture. Because I always mix my blacks with blue and brown, and that gives you a variety of different black colours. But when I want something that is consistent across the whole painting, that's when I use my ivory black. So I've got my paint set out, and I'm now going to get my brush. And with painting, you're really supposed to start with all the big areas, and then come back to the smaller areas and do the detail at the end. But when I'm painting an animal, I like to get the eye right first. So I'm actually going to work on the eyes first. Um, Sorry about the noise in the background. Normally my studio is quite quiet, but today there seems to be a lot of activity in the road outside, so hopefully they'll disappear shortly. So I'm going to use this brush here, which gives me a very, very fine point. And let's turn the camera around so that you can see the painting that I'm working on. So there we are. I've got my reference picture up here, just so I can make sure I'm getting the detail right. So just angle that down slightly. There we are. So hopefully you can see that okay. And it's very big, a very big canvas. It's actually 1 metre by 1 metre, this piece is. So I'm taking a bit of linseed oil on my brush just to wet it. And I'm going to mix up the eye colour that I want, which is an ambery, sort of an ambery brown colour. And it's quite, actually it's quite a pretty much pure yellow ochre. So this is the colour. Can you see that on the end of the brush? Maybe not. Hopefully you'll see it when it goes on the canvas. So because I painted this last week, it's nice and dry, so I can lean against it. And I can just notice there's a brush there. There's a brush hair here. I'm going to have to get that whilst I can see it. Sometimes that happens. Can you see? Can you see that very fine hair there out of the brush? Don't want that in the painting, do we? So take that out. Okay, so what I'm looking for is the roundness of the hare's eye. and use exactly the same colour to paint the shape in on the other side. So when you're painting eyes, you kind of have to imagine the shape of the eye, and like you're actually painting around the eyeball. I just want to make sure I've got my eyes level here. There, so now I can make a darker colour, so I'm adding in some brown. And this will give some shape and definition to the eye. Then when it's dry, I like to add just a dot of white as like a little highlight. And just blend that colour in. Looking good so far. Then with a darker colour, I'm going to start to go into the outside of the eye and the corners. So for this, I'm using, I'll put some black on the end of my brush, and I'm using the white line that I drew. I drew that in a white acrylic pen, because it dries nice and quickly, and it gives me an outline to follow. We'll go around the back with a dark colour down there. And then around the bottom. And then finally, painting the pupil. That looks roughly right. And then on this side, the pupil will be at the edge. Okay. So I think that's roughly right. So now I'm going to just make sure I've got the outline of the hare's face correct. So I'm using my reference photo, and I'm going to use a very fine brush here, and then just go around to make sure that I'm happy that I've got the structure correct. I'm not sure if I've got the hare's face. I'm not sure if I've got the hare's face too wide at the minute. I might have to go back and correct this at some point. But for now, it looks fine. So yeah, I have actually. I think that that needs to stop about there and then come in. Come in a bit more there. We'll see how we go. That's the beauty of oil paintings, is you can always paint over what you're not happy with. So this stage is just about adding in the shape of the face to make sure that we're happy that we've got everything roughly in the right place. Yeah, that's not far off. I think maybe this eye needs to be a little bit higher up, so this could be something that I play about with for a while, you know. Yeah, that looks a bit better. So I'm just going to get some more of the yellow and go up a little bit higher there. That's better. The eyes are starting to look a bit more level now. Just pop a bit more on the other side. Which means that that needs to come up slightly. So I'm going to get some brown. And move the eye up there. That's better. That's better. So this is why why paintings take so long, because you have to plan it all out, you see. And it takes a lot of patience to sort of sit there and look at a reference photograph and make sure things are accurate. I know some artists just sort of paint freely, and the the animal doesn't. It's whilst it's a fantasy animal, it doesn't look particularly realistic. You know, it might be out of proportion somewhere, but that just really bothers me. And so much as I love to paint in this beautiful fantasy genre, the anatomical detail of the animal just has to be correct for me. I can't stand it if things don't look right in terms of how the animal should be. And that's why my paintings sort of take a lot longer than maybe other people's paintings do. So let's go back that way and continue. So that was a that was a bit of a stressful thing. I'm actually going to when this is dry, I'm going to take the end of the face in there a little bit more. Just narrow it off a little bit, I think. But not now, because fiddling now could result in a disaster for the whole painting. So at the minute, I'm just working on getting these little bits all in the right place. And I wanted to have a kind of a happy face, not a startled face, because he's by the moon. Well, that's a better. It's starting to get a nice little expression. You probably can't see very well on here, but I'll show you a close up once I've finished. So now I've roughly got my proportions correct. I'm just going to outline above that eye a bit more. Now I can start working on the rest of the hair. So I'm going to choose a different brush for this. I'm going to choose. Where's it gone? My favourite brush. Not that one. Need a nice small brush. There it is. So this is the brush I'm going to do the outline now of the feet and the legs and just put that all together. So we'll go back that way. And then that will probably do for this particular session. I'm going to raise my easel up actually. So let me show you here. There's the handle for the easel, and if I wind it here, it makes the easel go up and down. So I'm always working in this plane rather than trying to paint down here or reach up there. So I'm looking directly at my painting. So I just want a nice outline of the ears. starts to add a bit of shape. I've actually used gold leaf in the painting, and I've let some of the gold leaf shine through the hair as well. That's looking a bit more hair-like. So now I can work on just putting in the sort of the outline here of where the legs are. So he's got his little ankles here, and then this is the start of his foot. I'm going to switch to a lighter colour because I've got darkness under here, and I want to be able to see the edge of my hare's foot. And the same on this side as well. And then I need to get the underpart in the right place. So this is the top of his leg. And need to work out roughly where it needs to join here. So there's the upper part of the body coming down there. And then I think we're pretty much there with that leg. So again, the same down here. Again, at this stage, these are guides, and then as I build up the layers of the fur, we'll start to see the hair actually taking shape. over here. He's got this hind leg that comes behind the foreleg. So we need to paint that in so that we can see that. That will be covered up in by grass, this lower section of the hair. But we still want to know, before we paint the grass in, where that actually is, where that part of the hare's foot is. There, just like to know, so I know that I've got my animal balanced. Okay, so that's where we've got to so far. I'm now going to go and finish off the body because that takes quite a bit of time. So I'm going to post this once I've finished it. So if you want to see the finished result, then please do, like and subscribe and put some comments, etc. And if you enjoyed watching me paint, then please do pop back again and see what you think. Right, that's it for now. I'm going to disappear and finish. So have a great day. Bye for now.